I'm Dilara, and I will talk about investigating the evaluative dimensions of a large set of communicative facial expressions. It will be a comparison of lab-based and crowdsourced data collection. The research was conducted in University CognitiveSystems laboratory. Communication is the most important interaction for humans. It can be either verbal communication, such as speech, to explain our emotions and thoughts, or nonverbal communication, such as body language, prosody, or facial expressions. In our research, we focused on facial expressions produced by muscles on our faces, again an important channel of communication. Although humans can produce a large variety of facial expressions, so far, most research in psychology and related fields has focused on the 6 universal facial expressions, which are shown here. The 6 universal facial expressions are anger, fear, disgust, surprise, happy, and sad, and all were identified by Paul Ekman in the 1960s and 70s as expressions that were robustly recognized across all cultures. Although these expressions are certainly important signals, we would like to investigate the full range of human communication. Some examples of a larger range of mixed expressions are shown here, and many more expressions are possible. If you want to investigate the full range of communicative facial expressions, this would mean testing tens, if not hundreds, of different expressions. However, the problem is that this poses a logistic problem in traditional lab-based settings due to the large number of stimuli. Crowdsourcing lets researchers reach high populations from any region in the world and reduces the time spent to get the results. However, since crowdsourcing settings mean less control over the participants, results may be less reliable. The aim of this study is therefore to investigate how reliable crowdsourcing is for the purpose of investigating communicative facial expressions. In order to do this, we compared a traditional lab-based setting with an online crowdsourcing setting. In both settings, participants evaluated videos of facial expressions, a task which I will detail more now. For the crowdsourcing experiment, we used Amazon Mechanical Turk website, and we recruited a total of 423 participants. In the lab-based experiment, we had only 20 participants. The stimuli were taken from a recently developed database of communicative facial expressions. We used 27 different facial expressions, where each expression was performed by 6 actors, yielding a total of 162 video sequences. In our research, we used dynamic stimuli instead of static stimuli, since previous research has shown that dynamic presentation of expressions is not only more natural, but also allows for a better and richer interpretability. The test consisted of watching the videos carefully and then rating the videos along 13 evaluative dimensions. For the crowdsourcing part of the experiment, each participant was allowed to rate a maximum of 10 videos, and we recruited participants until we received at least 20 ratings per video sequence. For the lab-based setting, each participant completed the task for all 162 videos. The analyses were run with MATLAB. Here's an example of the video sequences. 6 actors were chosen from Korea University facial expression database. Each video takes about 6 seconds. And during the tasks, the participants were allowed to replay the video as much as they would like to. The black background used to get the focus on the face clearly. The facial expressions and emotions were all video sequences to get a more real-life perception of the expressions. The first facial expression shows us the considerate face. And whereas the second one shows us the anger facial expression. Third face shows us the laughing facial expression. Fourth one shows us the impressed facial expression. Fifth video shows us the arrogant face. And sixth video shows us the feeling of the pain facial expression. The participants watched the videos in randomized order. We had 13 evaluative dimensions adapted from Fontaine study a couple years back. The dimensions are arousal, measuring the intensity of the facial expression. Audience, does the expression needs a partner? Dominance, does the observer feels the dominancy of the facial expression? Dynamics, measures the amount of the motion of the facial expression. Empathy, does the observer feels empathy for the actor? Familiarity, how typical is the facial expression? Masculinity measures how feminine or how masculine is the facial expression. Naturalness measures is the facial expression posed or not? How natural? Persuasiveness, does the observer feels persuaded while watching the facial expression? Politeness. Predictability, is a situation easy to guess after watching the facial expression? Sincerity and valence measures how positive or how negative is the facial expression. Ratings were done on a 7-point Likert type scale. Here's a sample of the crowdsourcing webpage. The instructions were explained on the top of the page, and below the instructions, the video was shown along with the 13 questionnaire items. After finishing the first sequence, the participants were guided to rate the next video. The experiment in the lab-based setting proceeded in a similar way. First, we check the correlations of dimensions within each group. A dark red color indicates high correlation, with blue meaning negative correlation. On the left side are the lab-based results. As may be expected, we observed correlations for some dimensions. Valence highly correlated with politeness. Dominance and dynamics correlated with arousal. Persuasiveness correlated with empathy and sincerity. Familiarity and predictability correlated as well. These correlations were to be expected. Naturalness correlated negatively with sincerity and persuasiveness, since the question awarded pause expressions with high values. On the right side of the page are the crowdsourced results. Again, we see that valence high correlates with politeness, similar to the lab-based results. Similarly, dominance and dynamics also showed high correlations with arousal. The similarity of these two patterns is the first indication that two settings seem to produce similar results. To assess within group reliability, we split our data in half and correlated the responses for the participants, and repeating the split several times, averaging the results. The left side shows that reliability was very high for valence, dynamics, politeness, arousal, and audience. Predictability and masculinity, in contrast, show relatively low reliability. On the right side, for the crowdsourced results, we find again high reliability with valence, arousal, politeness, and dynamics. Also, reliability was low for ratings for masculinity and predictability. Overall, we had slightly less within group reliability. However, considering that we tested 423 participants as opposed to 20 in the lab-based setting, this difference in reliability does not seem high. Importantly, across-group correlations showed a highly similar pattern. Valence had the highest correlation for all the dimensions tested. In accordance with their low within-group reliability, predictability and masculinity had low across-group correlations. Overall, we had high across-group correlations, showing that both settings produce comparable results. In conclusion, most dimensions were highly reliable, but masculinity and predictability were comparatively less reliable in both groups. Important result, as it highlights robust dimension when evaluating facial expressions. Our results show that it is feasible to conduct large-scale rating experiments using crowdsourcing stimuli. Additionally, the ratings paint a complex picture of how facial expressions are evaluated. Future studies will focus on dimensionality analysis to further investigate the full space of human communicative facial expressions. The high correlations within group and across group validate the use of crowdsourcing experiments. To take another view of the crowdsourcing experiments, the total time spent to run 20 participants in the lab was 80 hours, excluding the time spent for recruiting participants. On the other hand, to run 423 participants took only 8 hours. In our research, we used comparatively small stimuli. The reliability and correlations would increase relatively by recruiting higher number of participants. So crowdsourcing is a good alternative to lab-based experiments, enables to investigate cognitive dimensions of large numbers of stimuli easily and reliably. Thank you.